Hey everyone, this is the last video on carbohydrates, and we're going to be talking about different types of polysaccharides. Specifically, we'll be looking at amylose, amylopectin, and glycogen, and cellulose. And by the end of this, you should be able to identify these different types of polysaccharides. So as the name polysaccharide implies, a polysaccharide is composed of three or more monosaccharides joined together through glycosidic bonds. All of the polysaccharides we'll be looking at today are polymers of glucose, specifically D-glucose. Now, amylose and amylopectin are both types of starch. So you've probably heard the term starch before, but maybe didn't know what it was chemically. And so inside of a lot of plants, like potatoes, you have these two different types of starch, amylose and amylopectin. And we're going to look closely at these structures. Amylose, which forms coils, and amylopectin, which forms sort of coils with branching coming off of it. So amylose is considered a straight chain polysaccharide that makes up about 20% of starch. It consists of 250 to 4,000 glucose molecules connected by alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. So exclusively alpha 1,4. And so this is just a short segment of the chain. You can imagine that it keeps going in either direction. Obviously, if it's 400 molecules long, we can't show the whole chain. So this is just looking at a little piece of it. But you can see here that the type of glycosidic bond is an alpha 1,4, alpha 1,4, alpha 1,4, and so on and so forth. And so the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond is unique, and that's what specifies this polysaccharide as amylose. Now, amylopectin is a branched chain polysaccharide, and it makes up the majority of starch, up to 80%. And it's considered a branched polysaccharide because it contains two different types of glycosidic bonds. It has both alpha 1,4, and every once in a while, about every 25 sugars, it will have a side chain. And that side chain is caused by an alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond. And so amylopectin has both alpha 1,4 and alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds. The alpha 1,4 makes the linear chain, just like amylose, and then the alpha 1,6 are the branches. And so going back to our cartoon structure, if I was to blow this up a little bit, so you can see amylose is just this linear coil, whereas amylopectin has these branches sticking off. Everywhere there's a 1,6 glycosidic bond. So branched chains. Now, glycogen is very, very similar to amylopectin. The only difference is the branches occur more frequently, about 1 every 10 glucose units. And this is the type of starch that's stored in animals. So glycogen is animal starch, if you will. This is how animals like us store carbohydrates in our liver and in our muscle cells for release when we need energy, but we haven't eaten in a while. And so this tightly branched form of starch that's held in our liver can be hydrolyzed to quickly release glucose into the bloodstream when we need a quick burst of energy. So if you haven't eaten all day and a wild animal comes out and you need to take off running, you get that energy from the stored glycogen in your liver and your muscles. This is also what your body lives off of when you're sleeping and you're not eating for 8 to 12 hours at a time. Your body is slowly hydrolyzing off these glucose molecules. And so the starch inside your liver is slowly depleting as you sleep, and it's releasing that glucose into your bloodstream to keep you alive while you're sleeping. And that's why when you wake up first thing in the morning, usually you're hungry or hungry within a few hours of waking up because your body needs to replenish the glycogen to your liver. So amylopectin and glycogen both have the same bonding connectivity. The only difference is amylopectin occurs in plants, and the branches are about 1 every 25 units. Glycogen occurs in animals, and the branches occur about every 10 glucose units, so more branched. Now, cellulose is another linear polymer of glucose, but it's unique in that it is beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds. And so if you look at the linear structure of cellulose here, you'll see that all these bonds highlighted in blue are in a beta orientation. So it's the beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds. And it keeps going. And cellulose molecules tend to be thousands of glucose molecules long, many thousands, really, really, really long fibers. And we see cellulose in plant cell walls. Cotton is almost pure cellulose, actually. So if you've ever taken a cotton ball and pulled it apart and seen those little individual fibers, those are pure strands of cellulose, just tens of thousands of glucose molecules all linked together in a little string. And then those strands are coiled together to make the cotton fibers that you can see. And cellulose also exists in wood. It's what gives wood that rigid structure. So beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds. Now, we don't have the ability to eat wood or cotton for energy, even though it's made of glucose. And the reason for that is we lack the specific enzyme to break beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds between glucose. So simply because we don't have the enzyme to break this bond, when we eat wood, it just goes right through us. We call it fiber. So fiber is non-digestible carbohydrates because your body lacks the enzymes to cut it down. Now, some organisms do have the enzymes to do that, like termites. Termites eat wood, and to them, it's like us eating a potato. It's pure sugar energy for them because they have the right enzyme to break it down. We only have the enzyme to break down the alpha 1,4 or alpha 1,6 bonds. But beta 1,4 is non-digestible to humans. Okay, let's do a study check. Identify the polysaccharide and the types of glycosidic bonds in each of the following. So a tree has wood, and so that's going to be cellulose. And the type of glycosidic bond in cellulose, as we just mentioned, is beta 1,4 bonds. Now, potatoes are made of starch, and there's 2 types of starch. We said there was amylose, which was alpha 1,4, and then there was amylopectin, which is alpha 1,4, and the branches of alpha 1,6. So 3 main types of polysaccharides. Amylose and amylopectin are the starches. Cellulose, which is beta-1,4. And this is known as fiber in our diet. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in lab on Tuesday.